make sure that we get this. We're going to record this. If you feel comfortable, you can stay with your video on, but if you're not, you feel free to turn your video, your camera off. I am Michelle Carter. I am the Director of Educational Content and Programs at Shape America, and I'm excited to be really just welcoming Sally Jones and Jonathan Jones, and we were joking, brother-sister duo. Just kidding, they just have the same last name, and I thought that would be funny to say that. But they're our task force. Sally is our chair. Jonathan is one of our wonderful task force members, and they're going to be giving you all the wonderful updates that have happened since about April 2022, when we had our first round of public review and comment. And so they've been hard at work looking at the feedback from town halls, looking at the feedback from the survey that happened last year, from in-person meetings, and being really thoughtful and intentional of analyzing that data and information to make these updates. And so they're going to be giving you an overview of what those updates look like. And you'll have an opportunity at the end to ask any questions to Sally and Jonathan on behalf of the task force. I will be here to assist, and if there's questions, you can ask them in the chat. And if you'd like in the chat to just put where you're located and say hello, feel free to do that as well. So with that being said, I am going to stop talking and I'm going to hand it over to Sally.
How many times do you have to hit that unmute button? I have to do it all the time and I forget. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate all of you being here. I wanted to kind of set this town hall overview of what we're going to talk about just a little bit. Well, I'm going to talk about what's happened since our public review and comment. And this will give you an opportunity to see specific changes that have been made. We're also going to give you an overview of what's going to be happening next. So I really appreciate you joining. And for some of you that might not have been to one of our town halls or meetings before, I want to go over just about who we are a little bit. So Jonathan, if you'll go to that next slide where it lists all of our task force members. Here we all are, and it gives us, there's a little brief description of sort of the titles of all of our task force members. There's 12 of us, and we all range from elementary all the way up through college. And I'll show you another slide here in just a second. If you'll go ahead, Jonathan, thank you for driving that bus. I do appreciate it. So here we are. This gives you an idea of, we have several elementary PE folks, secondary, adapted. We have the Department of Education. We have public health. We have higher education. And actually, some of these people have dual roles. Some of these folks have also work at a district level. We have several that are not only higher ed, but might specialize in motor development or special education or adapted education. Some of us who might be DOE, but have experience from K through higher ed. So all of us come with just a dearth of knowledge and background. And this is who currently sits on our task force. I think the only person that we are missing, I believe, is, oh, no, Clancy did get added. I see that he's there. So just wanted to give you that overview. And the next slide is going to show you where we are on the map. We have two folks in California, a couple in Texas, and then 2 in the Midwest. And then you have everyone else who's on the Eastern Seaboard, which can make sometimes getting together a little challenging. As Jonathan and I just were leaving our task force meeting tonight, we meet every other Thursday. We've been meeting every other Thursday for over 2 years now. And we were just trying to get together. There was 3 of us, and we were just trying to figure out when the three of us could meet, off-site or outside of our meetings to do some work. And it's challenging, but somehow we always make it work. And so there we are. Let's talk about what's happened since our last public review and comment. So once we got that feedback from that last public review and comment, we actually sent all of that data to be analyzed. We sent it to the Pedagogical Kinesiology Research Lab at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And this was led by Dr. Kevin Richards with the assistance of a couple of doctoral students, Nicolette Smith and Jungjun Kim. And what they found and what they sent back to us, the information that we got, was that overall a large majority of the respondents agreed or strongly agreed that the student attributes and draft standards would enhance student well-being and support the physical literacy journey. We did look at the comments and we had those broken down, and we were able to, after we broke those down, we were able to really look at those in depth and address those concerns. And so I want to just highlight a couple of those concerns with you and just give you a little information on that. So the biggest concern that we saw were that with student attribute 2, which is analyzes factors and applies strategies that affect well-being. And that concern was that it was too similar to health education. Another concern that rose up was that motor competency or the psychomotor domain in the physical literacy was not prominent enough throughout the standards and attributes, and that there was also a lack of understanding of what meaningful movement means or what it is. So what we have determined that we were going to do with this information was that we spent a lot of time doing some research on more research, more in-depth research on physical literacy. And so I want to dive into that a little bit with you, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit more. But so I want to go on into sort of the tasks that we completed from this information. So one of the biggest things we learned as a task force is that we don't believe we set the stage up, sort of, so to speak, as well as we could have to help stakeholders fully understand that the revisions and the updates that were being made. This led us to update the introductory language to focus more on physical literacy. That's where that research, that more depth and research that we did, so that it could be more evident to the reader, to the audience, and that you can actually see that physical literacy is the absolute foundation of these standards and outcomes. Additionally, we made changes to the way that the draft standards and the student attributes were written to include more familiar terms, some language. We also rearranged them, the standards, even though we fully recognize that all the standards are equally important and that there is no prioritized order, but we did sort of reorder them just to help the readers understand and flow with everything. And I will go to the next slide, and this next slide is going to sort of give you an idea of the process that we've had. So the revision process, we wrote some guiding principles, and we also created student attributes, and those kind of helped each other develop those. And from those guiding principles and those student attributes, we were able to create you'll see as the draft standards. Once we created those draft standards, we were able to create potential strands. And once you get to those strands, that's the micro level. And the micro level is those strands are gonna lead to our outcomes or slash indicators. And so we have just now begun diving into our strands and our indicators. So it's been a long process. So we've been at the macro level quite a bit, and we're just now diving into the micro level. But what we want to give you is a view, and what's coming up for public review and comment is the revision from the last review and comment process on our macro level. So one of the things that I'm going to show you in this next slide is sort of that introduction paragraph on how we really got our driven the home and made sure that everybody understood that physical literacy was the foundation of our work. And this is the revised introduction to our student attributes and our national physical education standards. I know that that's probably small on your screen right now, but you will be able to see this once you go into the survey. It's in that survey too, so you can read it there as well. But we really wanted to drive home about the physical literacy journey, that physical literacy doesn't have an endpoint. You're always on a journey from birth until you're not anymore, and that regardless of your ability, age, class, gender, or race, everybody is on a journey, and every person's journey might look a little differently, but we want to make sure that every student can move more confidently as they go into these physical activities, and hopefully be motivated and find some enjoyment as an individual through through their journey on physical literacy. So again, that is where our foundation is. And I believe that my colleague Jonathan is going to kind of go over the revised student attributes that we have. And I'm going to turn it over to him. Thanks for listening so far.
Thank you so much, Sally. So like Sally said, these are those student attributes and draft standards. This next slide is a crosswalk that was developed by the task force. And this crosswalk was developed to show the progression all the way from the NASP standards all the way back in 2004, all the way up to where we are now. And we really wanted to show this crosswalk to kind of highlight the connection of all of the the iterations of the standards, but also where each one is a bit different. And so to go into even more detail, the next four slides will show you each draft standard, their description, and also the potential strands, and how it connects to the 2013/2014 standards. So this attribute is our motor skill development attribute, and it focuses on developing a variety of motor skills. There's also a focus on how these skills contribute to competence, confidence, and a student's physical literacy journey. This animation shows the connection between our current 2014 standards, and notice how in our 2014 standards, the connection is with the draft standard and the potential strands. So you can see it on the screen, how the motor skill development attribute and draft standard in our revised draft standards connects to our 2013 and 2014 draft standards.
Jonathan, may I make one point?
Yeah, great.
So that where you see I have the skills to play, that is kid-friendly standard language. Just wanted to, there was some confusion when we presented this previously, and I just want to make sure that people understand that that was a poster from Shape America that created the standards in kid-friendly language, and that's what you're seeing. That's part of that.
Yes, I actually used to have that poster up in my gym, so I definitely recognize that. Thanks for that, Sally.
Yep.
So our next attribute, our knowledge to move attribute, focuses on applying knowledge and strategies related to movement. This could include goal setting, health-related fitness, and also concepts that are important for students to apply movement concepts, strategies, and tactics. And notice how this attribute in draft standard connect to our current Shape Standard 2 and 3. Our personal and social skill attribute focuses on personal and social skills related to movement. This could include responsibility, self-awareness, self-management, and relationship skills. And this attribute and draft standard connect to our current Shape Standard number 4. And lastly, our motivated through movement attribute is focused on identifying personal benefit and responding to motivation. This can include autonomy, self-awareness, personal relevance, and engagement in physical activity. This draft standard attribute and its potential strands connect to our current standard number 5. So with these last, with the crosswalk and also these last 4 slides, we really wanted to show where things have changed, but also the connection between what we're doing now and also what was kind of the what were the hallmarks of our 2013 to 2014 iteration of our standards. So that was the purpose of these past few slides. So what's going to happen next? Our next steps, like Sally mentioned earlier, is we're now going to drill down into that micro level. So the strands, the outcomes, and the indicators. Our work has also been ongoing with the National Health Standards Task Force to create points of synergy, because they are undergoing the same process as us with their standards. And so we are trying to have conversations with that group to find different points of how we can connect and how we can kind of move forward together as our physical education standards and also the separate national health standards also. And because this is something new, the task force recognizes that accompanying the the standards rollout, which the goal is for March 2024 in Shape Cleveland for the standards to be released to the public. With that is going to have to be accompanying resources for our population to be able to implement the standards, with fidelity, and also, give them the support that they need, because it is going to be, our new standards. So that is what's going to happen next. This is just ways to stay connected. So on the Shape America website, there's a section dedicated to updates from our group, the National PE Standards Task Force. So if you're interested in staying connected with us and our process, please feel free to follow along on the Shape America website.
Jonathan, can you show that slide? It didn't pop
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, there it is.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, and we have our own tab, right? On the website, on the Shape America website. So regarding the public review and comment, the feedback that we've received from the population through the survey, and also being in front of you at Shape NOLA, has really been such a great process. We've gotten such exceptional feedback. It's been actually overwhelmingly supportive and constructive. And it's really motivated and reinvigorated us, because it's, hearing from so many different, facets of our physical education community has really informed our process, as you can see. And it's really been such a great experience. Over 1,000 individuals have already provided feedback for us. And these are opportunities that you will have if you have not already provided feedback. We're having our town hall tonight on February 13th, on Monday. The leadership summit will be happening in Northern Virginia, and we'll be presenting in front of the leadership there on our updates. And in less than a week, or no, in more than a week, our second round of public review and comment will be commencing, and it'll go all the way up to the end of Shape Seattle in a little over a month and a half. So we're looking forward to that. Again, thank you all for your feedback, and we really appreciate it.
Jonathan, thank you for giving that overview. Would you mind popping back to, I think it was slide 10? Tom had put a statement early on in the chat, wondering if these were PE standards. PE is not mentioned in the document. So I just want to show this out to Tom. As you can see from the history of our current of the standards that we currently have all the way back to 2004, nowhere is physical education mentioned in the previous standards. And so these standards, if you look at them and if you read them very in depth, and if you go back and when you get to the public review and comment, you will see the description, and you will see that the essence of these standards is all about physical education and physical literacy. So I just wanted to point that out to Tom to make sure that he takes a look at that. But I just wanted to point out that just this information here. So thank you for that. Let's see. Bob said he wasn't clear on the changes from current standard 2 and 3 to what they are now. I believe that's slide 12. Jonathan, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see, I didn't, I didn't see the chat coming through, when I was presenting, so I'm going back and looking at it now. So slide.
Not a problem.
slide 12.
Not, yeah, slide 12. I believe that was the one that Bob was inquiring about. And I think his inquiry, let me find it. He wasn't clear on the changes from current standards 2 and 3 to what we have currently written.
Mhm.
So did you want to take a stab at it, or do you want me to take a stab?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Bob, thank you for your question, for your inquiry. So basically what we're looking at is the attribute is knowledge to move. And this is, we're looking at that cognitive domain, all that the cognitive domain, knowing like, does a student have the knowledge and this and has gained the strategies, and can they apply that knowledge and strategies? And so if you looked at the standard 2 and 3, it's looking at the knowledge of, concepts and principles and strategies and tactics, and can they do that to can they use those, do they know them, and then can they use them to maintain a health enhancing level of physical activity and fitness. They are so closely related that we just collapse them into one so that they can see that, okay, not only do I have the knowledge, but I can apply that. Maybe that will give some clarity. Jonathan, do you have any other information that would be helpful clarifying for Bob?
No, I was also going to say that because a lot of the discussion around current standards 2 and 3 was that we wanted to have demonstrating and applying kind of in one, because it is connected. If we're teaching, we not only want our students, our population, to demonstrate the knowledge of these skills, but also to apply them within different situations. So we're talking about goal setting, having the knowledge to goal set, but also applying those goal setting principles, those principles of our health related fitness concepts, and then also those are strategies, tactics, and movement concepts. Not only understanding what they are, but also applying them, whether it's the different types of assessments that you can do in order to demonstrate and apply, whether it's verbal, whether it's tactile, whether it's me explaining this to you. So that was some of the conversation around kind of combining 2 and 3 and making it explicitly a part of the physical literacy journey.
Thanks. I appreciate you sharing that information, Jonathan.
Yep.
I think I don't know that we need to stay in the slides anymore.
Okay, yeah. So I'm again looking back at the chat, and I see Mark's comment about asked if the P and health standards will be together in the future. No, Mark, that's not the plan. It's going to be a separate health, separate physical education standards. What the conversation is around is more of the word usage that we can have synergy with. Am I correct?
I can jump in
Yeah.
there, Jonathan.
Yeah.
So we recognize that a lot of physical education teachers teach health, and health and physical education, they're combined. A lot of them do teach. However, we recognize that health education and physical education should have their own separate standards and related to that content. What may happen in the future is providing guidance and support around how to teach both content areas, both effectively, so that teachers are able to deliver high quality instruction around each content area. But at this point, we would not combine. Sure. So we have, if, Chuck, I see your comment on making something verbally. If you'd like to come off mute, sure.
I can speak then?
Yes,
Can you-
sir. Yes.
Thank you for considering all of our comments. I know a lot of us spent a lot of time trying to provide input that we thought was important. I think the crosswalk helps. It looks similar to the kind of charts that I provided earlier. I am concerned about the lack of physical activity in any of the standards. Movement it is used, and you know, over the years I've been around for the debates on whether we should use movement education or movement or physical activity. But given the physical activity guidelines for Americans that come out periodically, and the support that we have nationally from all kinds of groups for physical activity, it seems to me that physical activity should be paramount. In all definitions of physical literacy, the overarching goal is said to be physical activity. And I noticed on the screen while I was waiting, there's a little quote from Shape America that basically says that we are taking action to produce people who have physically active lives. So that would be one thing. Fitness.
Can I address?
Yes.
Can I address that for you?
Sure.
I'm glad that you bring that up. That's a good point that you bring up, and I can't tell you how much we have as a task force that we've talked about this. We talk about physical activity a lot, and I think that once we get into the micro level, Chuck, you're going to see that more prevalent. But as it comes into the standard, I think that we were also very cautious about thinking about how right now it's very hard for physical education to stay afloat in schools. What's keeping our profession alive? And a lot of times, you know, principals do not see the difference between a physical activity director and a physical education teacher. And so there could be a little bit of, I don't want to use the word danger, but if we're going to use physical activity a lot in the standards, any administrative person would go, oh, if it's just physical activity, then I can just hire anyone. I could hire a yoga instructor to come in and teach. So we were very conscientious about that. But I think your concern will be eased when you see the micro level. Michelle or Jonathan?
No, I think, yes, we appreciate those comments, but I do want everyone to, these are high level standards as they are, they're high level. And just once we get into sharing outcomes or that next level into detail, some of those things will come out, will be more evident in the direction. I hope that the potential strands that are underneath each of the student attribute and draft standards will give some indication of the kinds of things that will be included in those standards.
I make one other comment, and I'll make it
Sure.
brief. I know other people want to speak. I'm also, I don't agree with that, but you know, you have to come up with what you have to come up with. We've got tremendous support from other organizations, public health, ACSM, for physical activity and exercise, and not to make it prominent takes away our advantage to do that. If we want to separate let administrators know, then we should write position papers and make that clear. But I do want to say one other thing, and I'll make it brief. You talk all about the physical literacy journey, but you don't talk about physical literacy. And in my Jobert article, I talked about the fact that Shape America currently has many different definitions of physical literacy. Physical literacy is a state of being. The physical literacy journey is the process that you go through to help people be physically literate. I think you need to define physical literacy, and it should be the one definition that is exclusive and the only one that Shape America has, so we all know what it is and we can convey that to everyone else. And then we should make clear that physical literacy journey is like the movie. The snapshot is the state of being. That's my comment.
Thank you, Chuck. We appreciate that.
I'm sorry, I'm unmuted, but I wanted to comment on that also. We do make it a point to define what we mean by physical literacy journey within our introduction to our student attributes and national education standards. So I can definitely link you to that. I see John Strong has his hand up.
Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that, man. Hope you're well. Thank you, everybody, for all of your work. And I just wanted to ask if I could get a little, you started to get into, and I appreciate how challenging basically squishing together standard 2 and standard 3 had to have been. I wonder if I could be a fly on the wall in the room when that conversation was taking place, to hear a little bit more deeply about how this ideology related to strategies, when I think of communication strategies in a, as an associate degree, when I think of business strategies as an associate's degree, I think of very different things as to when I think of the wellness kind of journey, and squeezing those two things together, boy, I sure would love just a little bit morsel, if you could, of an explanation with regards to, we considered this, but thought that if we did that, I'd love to hear some of that if I could.
I think those recordings are in the vault, John. I'm teasing. 2 years. We've been going around and having philosophical discussions on a lot of things for 2 years. Yeah. Just about 2 years. And I have some of my other colleagues from the task force here. I think maybe it would be okay to have them jump in so that it's just not my perspective that everyone's hearing. Susanna, Fran, Brad, if you're here, I would encourage you, if you want to speak to John's comment, but do it very briefly and succinct. We can't give away all of our secrets. Just kidding.
Hi, Ms. Fran, nice to see you.
Hey, everybody. Sorry about the glare in my background. I'm in sunny Southern California now, and I haven't figured out what part of the day the blinds need to close yet. So from my recollection from our discussions, one of the things that we wanted to move forward as far as a philosophical stance was standard 3 as it currently is completely dedicated to fitness and fitness education. And at times, many physical educators, particularly at the middle and high school level, their program is dominated by fitness education, maybe through the best practices, pedagogical practices possible. But we were thinking, knowledge about health-related fitness and knowledge about skill-related fitness and knowledge about strategies for games or choreographic principles for dance. So the knowledge to move would cover both of those without isolating fitness as its own entity, such as we're not isolating adventure education or any other movement form.
That is a pretty darn good comprehensive answer. I really appreciate that. That really helps me out a lot. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I'm trying to get my hand up, but it won't come on. Any case, as I have for about a half century now, I've been agreeing with Chuck Corbin. So I just wanted to indicate that. And I'm concerned that physical activity has been replaced by knowledge and then caring about others. And I think that other subject matter areas should carry some of that burden of doing that. And because physical education is the only subject matter that agrees, that promotes physical activity and physical fitness. They don't do that in math, science, etc. So I think we ought not to sell out the profession simply to get new words in there and things that might attract administrators. My next one is, next comment is related to who are the standards being written for? Who will read them? And some of the subject matter in other standards that I've been looking at, they are written in a language so that parents can understand them, so that they can help their children reach those grade level standards particularly. So I will be quiet now.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yep, and we have, remember, we have our survey coming out February 20th, where all these wonderful thought-provoking comments can be captured. So here I see a lot of chat happening, a lot of stuff going on, not stuff, conversation and continued comments. These are things that we do talk about, you know, advocacy, making sure that these standards are going to also lend well for administrators and superintendents. So we appreciate you all from your perspective sharing that, as well as the task force continues to digest and analyze that feedback. Are there any other comments?
Michelle, can I respond to Tom?
Sure. Go.
Tom, thank you so much for that comment. We really took that identical feedback from Shape NOLA, particularly, and sort of redefined our draft standards, with motor skill development being a very prominent aspect of where we're going. And I think once we get to the micro level, these are written for teachers, these are written for administrators. Once we get past the draft standard into the micro level, I think you're going to be very pleased with the specificity of what we're going to be providing teachers, and parents alike. Families will really be able to follow it and see where their child is and where their child can go. So motor skill development is very, very important. And the other domains of learning, we're addressing this from the approach of the whole child. So we are still saying that, you know, children need to have social skills and personal skills within a movement environment. We're not emphasizing those in an isolated fashion at all. But thanks a lot for those thoughts.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm on another standards committee, not this one, of course, but another one. And I know the challenges that we've been going through, and we're still not through.
Yes.
Not through them yet. So any case, I didn't want to see physical activity or physical fitness being tossed out simply to appease some people because they like the word literacy. And literacy is about, typically it came from knowledge area. Okay, and that's where these standards seem to be moving into.
Well, hopefully when everyone gets to see the micro level, that next layer, really digging into, these were really reading the new draft that's out on that link that I sent and getting a chance. I can say that the task force has been really working hard, and that everything is thought through movement and physical activity, and really how can teachers help students to become physically active for a lifetime. And really that's the center, being inclusive, and really how can teachers use these standards and draft the outcomes as they're moving forward.
So may I follow up with another question?
Sure, and we'll let some other people join too.
Okay, how has, or what consideration did the committee give to determining if a student has met the standards? Any measurements discussed? Was there any discussion on that?
Sally, I see your hand.
Yeah, Tom, I just want to let's just keep this at the macro level at this point. We're just writing the standard. That would be addressed when we get to the micro level. There is a difference between the macro level, the umbrella standards, and what the outcomes and indicators are going to be. Can we keep your focus on the standard itself, and know that there will be more opportunities once we get to the micro level where some of these other comments are coming in that will address some of these topics that are coming through the chat and that are coming from you, Tom.
And we have a well-rounded group of teachers that are currently teaching, people who are currently at that district level that serve at a DOE, that are well-rounded in all these areas. But that's where the feedback will be really important during that survey, to capture that. And as Sally said, when the micro level comes out, I think things will become more clear for the group.
Any other comments or questions that we could clarify in the last, we have 5 minutes left, or actually a little bit more than 5 minutes. Yes, Joe, absolutely. Joe's question was, will administrators and principals be approached for feedback? Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate everyone that has joined us this evening to listen and to share, and that this is something that is important to you because you took time out of your schedule to be here and join us so that you could hear the updates that are happening from the task force. Our task force, as Sally has said, been working for 2 years now. They went from weekly meetings to bi-weekly meetings to monthly, back to bi-weekly. So there really is a lot of thought and intention and research and best practices, and all the things that are being discussed in the chat are all being considered. We can't wait to share the micro level with you so that hopefully it becomes more clear. But really, this is just the higher level. And as you're going through your feedback, considering that this is a high level, and hopefully the strands can help you see, but everything is through movement. We're thinking of the physical education. We're thinking of everything through movement in the task force. Sally and Jonathan, before we sign off, is there anything you'd like to add or share?
No, just thank you so much. Remember that the task force is currently has just begun working on the micro level. I saw a question pop up. So when we get completed with that first draft, we will share that out. But your voice is very important. So we want you to make sure that you complete that survey so that your information here can be captured in that survey so that we can see it. We value your thoughts. We're very appreciative of you being here, and we thank you for your support as well. This hasn't been light work for any of us. It's been a labor of love and a labor of pain as well sometimes, but we are very happy in the direction that we're going. And so thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, thank you. And just really quick, because I did see I want to clarify something. When we're saying macro and micro, that's internal language that we've been using to describe standards, being that macro top umbrella, and micro meaning those outcomes. Not that we're not going to put that out there in that manner to cause confusion, but that's what we've been using to say we're at this top bigger layer, and we're going to dive deeper as we go into the outcomes, into that more micro level. So I just wanted to clarify that we're not trying to confuse people, but All right, with that being said, again, I really do appreciate your time on behalf of Shape America. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to your feedback in the survey, and that our website will be up and running so that you can complete that survey. If not, we'll get it to you because it is super important, as Sally mentioned. With that, have a great evening. Thank you everyone for joining us.